Welcome back, everybody. In this video, we're going to go over while loop or while statement in Python, and at the end, we'll do some practice as well. Let's continue. Okay. So, while statement basically allows us to iterate through a condition. Basically, it's allow us to iterate until a condition become false. So, here's the syntax. Okay. So, we have the while key reserved word, and we have a boolean expression, and it's ending with colon. Okay, and then inside we have the loop body. Okay, all right. So do something is the loop body. Okay, basically it has to be indented by 4 space or 1 tab. Okay, and basically the loop body get executed each time the boolean expression of the while loop evaluates to true. Okay, all right. So if you want to iterate based on a condition, and you can use while loop. Okay, so if you can also convert any full for loop into a while loop as well, because you can check the ending of the for loop in your while loop condition. All right, so while loop, since this condition is explicit, and we call them while loop indefinite iterations due to that uncertainty of the Boolean expression. Okay, right. So let's go over the flow pattern of while loop. Okay, first flow enters from the top of the while loop. Okay, and on each iteration, Python execute the Boolean expression. So check the Boolean expression. Only if it is evaluates to true, it go inside the loop body into the loop body and execute loop body once. Okay, after that it's go check again the boolean expression. Okay, so once it execute loop body once, go back and check again the loop boolean expression. Okay, when that expression evaluates to false, basically loop exit. Okay, so basically loop body execution is done, and the flow now return to main flow. Basically the program execution flow return to the main program. Okay, so let's demo a while loop using the same example that we did it for the with the for loop segment. So it's we are basically going to greet 3 guests who are attending COVID virtual party. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so we have the program before. Okay, so that means this line of code. Okay, and we already printed that. Okay, welcome to virtual COVID party. Okay, and flow enters now into the while loop and then check the condition. Okay, so notice our condition is true because count is 0 here and count is less than 3. So we go inside the while loop, now execute that lines of code. So evaluates yes, true, and we execute loop body and we executed the first this line. Okay, and now I am incrementing the count because we need to track this count. So as we print execute loop body, we have to increment that count. Okay, all right, so continue. So now we executed loop body once. Now the Python go back and check the loop condition again. So still it's true. Okay. All right. It's still true. So we execute loop body once more. As we execute, I actually highlight the code inside. Highlight the loop body in pink. Okay. So continue again. check it again, right? Now still yes. Okay. Now print again. Now the count is 3. Okay. So now when in the next check, it's evaluates to no because it's equals to 3 now. So we exit the loop and program main and exit the main flow of the program. And that's this line, and we printed that line. We welcomed all. Okay. All right. So let's do some practice with while loop. So this question I specially picked for two reasons basically. Okay. So input validation of your program is a big deal. Okay. So imagine your program is critical. For example, it could be a controller in surgical theater, surgery theater, or it is a part of the flight control program. So it's critical because if it crash, well, life dependent on it. Okay. So and if it takes some input from the user and that input is not valid, then we know that program crashed. Okay. So we need to prevent that. So the other importance is basically if it is, for example, your Python program is a backend program and accepting uh, the user input from an internet form. Okay, so um, and then you get the data and then you pass into a say SQL server, and there's this um, specific attack type in which an attacker can smartly craft a piece of code into the form, and then if you don't validate it inside, and the code goes to the SQL server, and then it basically execute a piece of SQL code, probably like dumping entire database into the internet, something like that. So we need to basically prevent these kind of things. So that means basically programmer in control. So you have to validate your input. So this is where basically the engineers should need to know the domain knowledge of the problem the engineer solving. Okay, so what are the limitation of your input? Okay, and we need to take account that into the implementation. Okay, so this simple an example that demonstrate the value of while loop in implementing that kind of input validation. Okay, the problem is basically imagine your program only accept an integer number that is between two given values. So only integer number. So we cannot input a string, not a floating point number, and it has to be between these two numbers as well. Write your program in such a way that in an event the user enters an invalid entry, the program asks for the same input until the user gets it correct. Once the user enters a valid input, the rest of the program allows to continue. Okay, so let's solve this problem. Okay, all right. So as usually, I copied my problem into my PyCharm. Okay, so let's figure out the input. It's a number. Okay, and this could be in string form, and we'll see that. Okay, and then output should be the validated number. Okay, okay, and validation criteria is given here. Okay, and let's take a couple of numbers. Okay, a couple of input. Okay, so example. Okay, so input equals, let's say, code. Well, this shouldn't work, right? So need to ask. Okay, ask again. Okay, so the other example, let's say So let's imagine the two limits, the given limits. Okay, so let's say the range start equal, let's say just hypothetically 10, and end equals 100. Okay, so we are basically expecting a number between 10 and 100 inclusive. Okay, so just imagine, right? So that basically input, let's say now we entered 110, right? So we need to ask again. Okay, all right, and input equals, let's say 9, need to ask again. Okay, so need to ask again. Okay, oops, should be this. All right, so if we enter like 20, like 30, and basically we receive the validated number, right? So it's validated. Okay, okay, so now basically we need to check three things. One, we need to check whether this number, now remember in this loop we are asking if the number is not fitting to this criteria, right? So that means our Boolean expression check for not fitting this criteria, right? So basically we need to ask, okay, let's write it down. This is not a number, okay? And basically, or let's say if it is a number but not within that range, or greater than 100, or less than 10. Okay, so you can assume, look, it's inclusive 100 and inclusive 10. So this should be, this should basically, right here we have the while loop condition. Okay, so let's for the match, so there's no match right now because we are just learning while loop, so you can leave it there. If you already familiar with while loop, then you can say for loop with a break statement. Okay, can be a one. Okay, any example like that. So let's write our plan. Okay, so first step, we need to get this input. Okay, so input number. Okay, all right, and just plain input, no conversion, right? So at this point you cannot convert, we don't know what kind of input the user going to enter. Okay, so 2. Okay, so let's assume this start and end and 100. Okay, so we don't need to collect them. Okay, so now we need to basically check for this condition, right? So the condition here is basically while, okay, okay, while this number, okay, number is not a number, not an int, okay, integer, okay, or let's say now it's an integer, but it is not in the range, so it, or the number greater than 100, or the number less than 10. Okay, if this is true, okay, so we are inside while loop now. 2.1, need to ask again. Okay, input number again, number. Okay, so we need to basically, as long as this is true, we keep asking that number. Okay. And well, if it is a number, then we're gonna come out of that loop. Now we can convert the number into an integer. Okay. And well, let's basically allow the flow to continue. All right. So let's write our code now. Okay. Code. Okay. So I'm going to take the first implement. Okay. So we need to take the input number. So input. All right. So I'm going to give it a prompt. Okay. And well, we need to validate now, right? So next step, while. Okay. So if this is not a number, right? So it's not an integer. Okay. So we need to do that. So how do we do that? So I've already opened string class methods. Okay. Right here, this is the one that I think would be suitable. Okay. So let's read it. Return true if all characters in the string are decimal characters and there is at least one character. False otherwise. Decimal characters are those that can be used to form numbers in the base 10. Formally, decimal characters is a character in the Unicode, blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right. So let's check on that anyway. Okay. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to check over here. Okay. So let's say number equals 39. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is num. I'm going to check it using this function. Okay. All right. It's true. Okay. So let's say number is 39.6 and check again. It falls. Okay. So because we have this character inside, so it's a floating point number, but it's not basically there's no, or not all of them are digits. Okay. All right. So let's check for like code. Oh, it's definitely not a number, right? So it falls. Now you can see that you can nicely verify using this string method. We can nicely verify the number. Okay, for an integer. Okay, so we're going to use that. So let's go back to our code. So we're going to verify that. So if it is not a number, so that means not. Okay, number dot is decimal. Okay, then we have O, right? O. Now if we come to this stage, O means, all right, so this is now, so this whole thing not true now. Okay, if this is true means basically if this is true means this is not a number, and when we come over here, that means O means if that is not the case, so that means right here it is an integer now. Okay, so basically now we can convert safely this into an integer, but we still need to check for this, right? So that means we have to check for these two conditions. Okay, and to check that, notice these are numeric comparisons, so we need to convert this number into an int. Okay, so int number. Okay, and if this is greater than 100, or okay, I'm going to copy the other check less than 10. Okay, all right. So okay, it is a number right here, but we need to check for this. So it's the whole thing. Okay, it's a little bit complicated while loop Boolean expression. Okay, this whole thing is the while loop Boolean expression. But if you do this example and then craft your while loop condition in your plan correctly. It's not that it's straightforward. Okay, so if this is the case, we are gonna ask the number again. So that's all. So until this is true, keep asking. So in here we can say invalid number, try again. Okay, all right. So let's, and then at the end, outside the while loop, so this is now, let's say this is not true because now it's a number, actual valid number. Now we can basically say print. It's just to acknowledge one. Okay, so valid number received, something like that. And then we can, now we can safely convert the number, okay, int number, right? So that's it. All right, at this stage, basically we allowed the flow to control in and continue. Okay, so let's run it. Okay, so let's enter first like code. Well, sorry, code. It's asking again. Let me enter now 9. So 8, asking again. I'm going to enter 8.1, asking again. I'm going to enter 101, asking again. I'm going to enter 60.6, asking again. Now I'm going to enter valid input, say 60. There you go. It allows the flow to continue. All right. So there you have it, while loop and an example.